indestructible, I won't break. I take down whoever get in the way. It's the little pit bull, Johnny Faye. Nobody safe when they see the chains break. Let's go to war. Feel the rage. I came to fight until my hands raised. American hero, Carolina made. I'm a star, earn my stripes while I fight through the maze. Mind mischievous, oblivious to the pain. Unless I'm dishing it out, revenge on a cold plate. This tape for the beat, I got too much at stake. Don't get too close to the fire while you fan the flames. I drive my fan insane when I climb in the ring. Weapons galore, I'm bringing the kitchen sink. Feel the explosion from the grenade launch. It came tame.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. Wow, what a intro song that was. Tonight, our guest tonight is the indie wrestling talent, the American hero, the little pit bull. He is the current See No Evil Wrestling intercoastal heavyweight champion. Welcome to the HPWP, Mr. Johnny Faith. How's it going, my guy?
It's going good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate being on and, ready to get at this.
I'll just say that's a banger of a song, man. I thank you for sending that to me today. I was like, that's better than what I had. So
yeah. That's done by a guy named Eddie Ruger out of North Carolina. He does a lot of intros for wrestlers and stuff like that, and does a bunch of other things as well. So go ahead.
I wasn't going to kick it off with that, but my question now is, where did you guys come up with that song? That's a banger.
So I got with Eddie Ruger about it and was like, hey, I'm looking to do some custom music. And he was like, all right, well, let me get with my producer. And, because Eddie Ruger's a rapper from North Carolina.
Okay.
And, I was like, I use Indestructible by Disturbed as my intro music right now. And he's like, all right, well, let's see if we can create something that's similar to that, with a, very aggressive mentality to it, just so people, know who you are before you even step through that curtain, with the whole air raid sirens going off and all that. And, that's what you put together for me. And, I can say that I am very pleased with that product, and everyone seems to love that song everywhere I go, and think it's cool that I got a custom song, lyrics are, name, after me and all that, so.
Man, that's hype. I mean, the guy next to me, man, I call him the hype train. I call him, he's a TikTok hype guy. He just goes full balls to the wall. Man, Justin, you must have liked that song, huh?
I did. I actually like that. I'm going to have to check that song out.
Yeah, it's on my YouTube. So, yeah.
So, man, I got lots of questions we can start with, but let's first of all, thank you, sir, for your service. Thank you so much for serving our country in the Army, I believe, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. I appreciate your services, man. So can you tell us about your time in the Army a little bit?
So I had a pretty lengthy career in the Army. I spent most of my adult life in the Army. 9/11 happened, and my life wasn't really having a good direction, at that time. So, I decided to join up and, defend our country, and I just wanted to do it for a couple years, and do my time and get out. But I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the brotherhood, the battle buddies, as I call them, my comrades, that I fought beside, and, some lost, some are still here, but, I enjoyed it and wound up staying in a lot longer than I thought I was going to.
There you go. So, I thank you for your service, man. So the basic question is, what got you into wrestling in the first place?
So actually, my grandfather was a professional wrestler in the 70s and 80s in the Southeast Mid-Atlantic territories. I remember as a young kid, I would watch wrestling, and, he came to me one day, when I was old enough, and was like, hey, John, I was a wrestler. I wrestled a lot of people that you may not have heard of, but, let me show you. So he went in and he took out his notebook full of show flyers, promo pictures, just everything that he had, and, really turned me on to wrestling. And, I grew up watching WCW a lot because, back then WCW was on a lot. It was, WCW Saturday morning, WCW Saturday night, and when I could get in front of the TV to watch wrestling, that's what was on. Because, WWF only ran like one show back then, usually, unless you want to stay up for Shotgun Saturday night at like 2 a.m.
Right.
But my grandfather, got me into wrestling. He wrestled. I fell in love with it as soon as I started watching it. I just thought, the characters, the athleticism, I just thought it was great. These guys are bigger than life, and as a 7, 8-year-old kid, I really, fell in love with that. I love the storylines, the good guy, bad guy, and you just couldn't turn me away from it from that point forward.
That's awesome, man. So another question. So these are just like basic questions until I get into the meat and potatoes. Justin, feel free to jump in as any time you want. What's your favorite wrestling promotion?
Wrestling promotion?
Yeah.
So there are two favorite wrestling promotions right now that are still around, I guess you could say, that my grandfather wrestled in. One being Georgia Championship Wrestling. In Georgia, they're still around doing things. And then obviously National Wrestling Alliance would probably be, right now, my two favorite spots, because those are two places I would love to wrestle. Just because I would love to go to those companies, where my grandfather wrestled, all those years ago, and actually be able to step foot into their ring, would be an honor. So, I mean, everyone, WCW, WWF, great companies, have a lot of great memories with both of those companies. But right now in my book, I am trying to fight to get to where my grandpa wrestled at. And there's only two companies left that are open, and that's where I want to try to get to. That
is awesome, man. That's awesome that you want to finish, as Cody Rhodes would say, finish the story, right?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome to finish the story of your career. That'd be so nostalgic to just step in that ring that your granddaddy was in and win that title, wherever that may be. That's a great goal, man. Great goal. Justin, do you have anything for our guest?
Yeah. Who inspired you? Who inspired you to be a wrestler?
Who inspired me to be a wrestler? So how I got to be a wrestler, it was weird. I got out of the Army in 2015. Really had no direction. After that, I was kind of lost there for a couple of years. Refound my love for professional wrestling when I went to a local indie show out in Kansas, where I was stationed before I retired, and fell in love with it all over again, and really thought that maybe that ship had sailed on my dream of being a professional wrestler like my grandfather, but turns out it wasn't, because the guy that ran the company messaged me a couple months later, and was like, hey, I'm opening a school, do you want to come train to become a wrestler? And hands down, I was first one in line when the doors opened.
Awesome, man.
Thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
So real quick, who's your favorite male and female wrestlers of all time, and female or male wrestlers currently?
Favorite female and male wrestlers of all time. So favorite male wrestler of all time would be hometown boy Ric Flair. I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I think Ric Flair is probably my ultimate favorite across the board. Second would be either Austin or Undertaker. And as far as female goes, I would probably have to go with Lita, because she really innovated a lot of stuff for women professional wrestlers, and kind of paved the way for females to get looked at in the wrestling light the same as males. And current favorite wrestler would be Cody Rhodes. Like I've been on the Cody Rhodes train for a while now, even when he went to AEW and came back to WWE, even way before that. When he was first breaking into wrestling, I was really excited to see him and see how far he could go. And as far as female wrestlers, I got to go with Lacey Evans, because I really like her new military Marine gimmick. And, I really like that she's touched into that heritage and that lifestyle, and has brought it out in her character.
That's good. Yeah, I'll touch on a little bit of Cody Rhodes. Yeah, I like him, and I was excited for the transition into WWE for Cody Rhodes, and then And for some reason that the storyline went south, and they don't. Now I feel that the WWE has this mega star, and then they don't know. They know what they want to do with him, but they're not putting it into place, and it's giving him a bad rap, And it's a shame that they're not utilizing him the way they should. So
I think they're just going to do some slow storytelling there. I think we all know where it's going to lead to at some point, but how long it's going to take us to get there, that's the big question right there. But yeah, the transition was, I was wondering how that was going to be, and when he showed up at WrestleMania to face Seth Rollins and that pop, I think they realized, hey, we got something cooking here.
Yeah.
So, and it was good. It was shocking. I was shocked that he went back. I really was. And, I think a lot of people were just shocked that, he transitioned back from AEW, where he helped build that company, back to the WWE, to fulfill a legacy, fulfill a dream of his, no pun intended, to be champion, unlike his dad.
Yeah.
So, that's why I got a respect for him, because, I'm trying to do the same thing,
right.
on a smaller level, but I am trying to do the same thing he's doing.
Now, I mean, you say smaller level, but when you try to do something that your granddaddy did or your daddy did, that's not no small level, man. So I'm going to give you credit. That's a huge feat, and that I'm so excited. I'm going to turn into NWA now, weekly, to see if Johnny Face shows up on the NWA screens, man.
I'm hoping that's the goal right now. People ask me where I want to go. What do I want to do with my career? I want to go wrestle for NWA. I was like, I'm not really too keen on WWE or really AEW. NWA is like my focal point, just because that's where my granddaddy laced his boots up. He never really made it to the WCW because, when NWA, went out of business, he was out of a job.
Right.
And, he went to do engineering or something like that. He quit wrestling after that. And, I got an opportunity at some point, hopefully, that I will grace the presence of either a GCW ring or an NWA ring, just like he did.
Awesome, man. So can you just tell the viewers and the fans that are going to watch it later on, who is Johnny Faith?
Who is Johnny Faith?
I got 5 bullet points of your character, Johnny Faith. Where did the name Johnny Faith come from?
So my grandfather, he used to be the boss. He went as the Boston Bad Boy, Jimmy Allen. All right, he was a super baby face, even though his name was Boston Bad Boy. He was super baby face, but when he transitioned into a heel, he took the face out of his tag team partner, because he was in a tag team and he turned on his partner. So he took the face out of his tag team partner, and when they did their feud, he dropped the Allen last name and went with Faith. So he was Jimmy Faith for the last year and a half of his career. And as I was trying to figure out exactly who I wanted to be, I knew I wanted to be a military character. That was my life for so long. And, I can talk the lingo. I can, it's me just turned up to 1,000%. And I wound up taking, the Faith last name from Grandpa and just running with it and trying to keep the Faith legacy, I guess, going.
Awesome, man. You keep the Johnny Faith name throughout all the promotions you're wrestling in the Indies?
I'm always the American hero, Johnny Faith, no matter where I go. I've been on a couple promotions where people have had Faith last names, or they have had the moniker of the real American hero, or, things like that. And I still keep it. This is who I am. This is a family name. Yeah, it's a wrestling name, but, it's a family name, and it's who I am to the core.
So I got to ask this question because, you're military. So do you model your stuff after the likes of Sergeant Slaughter and all those military guys back in the day?
Actually, to be honest with you, I don't model anything after any of those guys. I'd set out to be who I am, not based on anybody else. I try not to copy or plagiarize or, parody or whatever you want to call it. No, I am Johnny Faith. That is who I am. I am not a Sergeant Slaughter. I'm not a patriot. I am not, any of these people that do the military character or gimmick. It's my lifestyle. It's my world. It's my real life. So that's who it is. And that's how it's going to be.
Awesome. Justin, you there?
Um, I want to ask about the NWA. Who who would be your dream opponent if you got that? Got to wrestle for the NWA. Who would be your like past and future? Who would you face in the NWA?
In the NWA past and future.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you want me to go back to the old days of the NWA and pick an opponent, correct?
yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you know I'm gonna. I mean, even though he only wrestled there 5 times, at least that's what I've gathered out of all his stuff. Grandpa wrestled there 5 times. I would love to wrestle him because he was a major heel. For the last run of his career, he spent a lot of his career as a babyface, but the last year and a half he was a major heel because he wanted to go out as a heel. He wanted to experience that. So I would love to go back and tussle up with Grandpa. I'm sure he'd kick the teeth down my throat, but that's always been something. And as far as present goes, I'd probably say EC3.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I've been
Okay.
to a lot of EC3 seminars, and he has helped me a lot with a lot of things. So I think it would be good to get in there and see how I hold my own against a guy like him, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So your second generation wrestler, your grandfather wrestled in the 1970s and 80s. Is that correct?
Yep.
And he was the height of the territory era. Can you touch on that a little bit? What that looked like over at, I think that's in Kansas, correct? Or is that North Carolina?
What are you talking about?
The territory area where your grandpa was.
That was in North Carolina. See,
Okay.
I'm kind of getting you confused. When I retired out of the Army, I stayed in Kansas for a while.
Okay.
So,
there it is.
but I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I grew
Okay.
up in the North Carolina area.
All right.
But the territory days, yeah, he was all over the place. Like I have stuff in here from Virginia to South Carolina to Georgia to Florida. Some spots up in Ohio, like Pennsylvania, Massachusetts area. It seemed like him and his tag team partner did a lot there for about 3 or 4 years, and then it slowed down for a little while. But he wrestled for the IWA, the NWA. He wrestled for Georgia Championship Wrestling. Just all these different promotions, and I didn't even realize that he had done all this.
Wow.
Even when he told me as a kid, I didn't understand it. It wasn't until he passed away and I inherited all his wrestling stuff that I actually started digging deeper into his career. And nowadays I even got people still trying to help me out, to find footage and stuff too of him wrestling.
Wow. That's awesome. So now he touched on, he was there with it. He was in it with Jim Crockett organization. Is that correct?
He wrestled for his dad.
His dad. Okay. So did your grandpa tell any good stories about dealing with the Crockett's and stuff?
So I really didn't talk to him about wrestling as much. But what I do have in his stuff I inherited from him was an old NWA match card from the Winston-Salem Coliseum, and on the back it said, "Jimmy, this card might change," and it was signed by Crockett Sr.
Wow.
So it's something that Crockett Sr. had sent him in the mail, and that's probably about really the only thing I can think of. Like I said, he really didn't talk much about it. I mean, he talked about it a little bit when I was a kid, but as the years went on, he really didn't talk much about wrestling. He was an old Vietnam vet, so he's kind of stuck to himself, and just did his own thing and all that. It wasn't really until after he died that I realized how much wrestling he did.
Wow. So I guarantee. So listening to you talk about what your grandfather did and the places you want to go and NWA and stuff like that, I have to say your grandfather must have been a great influence on your career, and without even thinking about it, probably is a huge influence on your career, right?
Definitely. I mean, he died in 2006, and I didn't start wrestling until 2000. I didn't start training until like 2018.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I mean, 12-year gap between him passing and me. I was in the Army at the time when he passed, so but yeah, I didn't realize how much he did. And then when I got out of the Army and was approached with this opportunity to train to become a wrestler, that's when I started digging deeper into his career and trying to find as much as I could, about him. That way I could start shaping my character and who I want to be, and things like that, and try to mirror some stuff off of him. And he's 110% bad guy, there towards the end. So most of the footage I've seen of him is just him straight bad guy.
Nice. So how did Johnny Faith break into the business of wrestling following your Army career? How was that process?
So I got out of the Army in June of 2015. I was, it's like any soldier that comes home, man. The adjustment period is just tough. I spent about a year and a half of my life trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I went to college for a little while. It was okay. It just didn't satisfy what I wanted. I had no purpose really anymore. I was just kind of lost. And then I was coming across a Facebook. At this time, I'm still living out in Kansas, out in Manhattan, Kansas. All right. And I came across a Facebook Marketplace page, and it showed, professional wrestling, 30 minutes away from my house.
Okay.
XWE wrestling, Salina, Kansas. Be there this Saturday. So I was like, $5 military first responder ticket. What could go wrong? So I went on their Facebook page, their YouTube page. I started researching wrestlers, trying to figure out storylines. So that way I just didn't show up not knowing anything.
Right.
So did that, showed up to the first show, was hooked ever since. Went back every show after that. So eventually at some point I messaged their Facebook page and was like, hey, do you guys need any help setting up, tearing down, stacking chairs? What do you need? Do you need some help? Need some volunteers? I would love to be a part of this. Started trying to find a purpose again. And, the owner, Billy Simmons, was like, hey, I'm about to reopen my training facility. Are you interested in becoming a professional wrestler and training with me? I was like, of course. So I started training in the summer of 2018. Pretty much ended my training around April of 2019 and had my first match in April of 2019. And that's pretty much how I broke into it. I, broke in with XWE wrestling out there in Salina, Kansas.
Crazy. How was wrestling school like? Was it a lot? What kind of how much pain and work goes into creating the amazing wrestler like yourself through that wrestling school?
With the Army career and the training that I did, I thought, all right, I think I could be okay with this. I think my body might be able to handle it. I'm not an 18, 19-year-old kid. I'm in my, early to mid 30s. I just spent, half my adult life in the Army. I think I'd be all right. But, it's a lot different than you would get in that ring. Inside the ring training is very vigorous. It's time consuming because you got to make sure you get everything right. Keep your opponent safe, stuff like that. Just learning the business in and out. It really took me by surprise, and I realized that I needed to up my physical fitness regimen, a lot more to be a great wrestler and to be a safe wrestler. And, the Army did give me some foundation there when it comes to physical fitness and, adversity and, the big heart and never quit attitude and stuff like that. Because, there for a minute, I was ready to throw in the towel there for a second because, it does get very rigorous and, the training gets hard and you have to, keep at it consistently or you just fall off. And to me, it came easy, but, I had to dig deep a few times, but in the long run, it was definitely worth it. The 7 or 8 months I spent training was definitely worth, every ounce of pain, sweat, tears, all of it.
Nice. So a couple more questions on the training stuff, and then Justin has something. But so training, is it just physical stuff that you guys did, or do they teach you how to be a face, a heel, or do cut promos? Because I don't imagine that a lot of these guys that come into these training centers can cut promos and can know if they're a face or a heel. So do they teach you that as well in training school?
So Billy Simmons really did a good job with figuring out what to do. When he first opened the training facility, there were 4 of us. So we kind of had a lot of one-on-one interactions, with him. Obviously, the in-ring stuff, physical stuff, all that stuff. Yes, we did that. We definitely did, but we did character development as well. He would bring in other wrestlers from the area to help us with promos, help us try to figure out what kind of character we wanted, help us develop a moniker, a gimmick, something that we could, that fans will remember, and not just, not just being an everyday, professional wrestler. We wanted to be different. We wanted to be apart from the rest. So he would bring in these guest trainers and these guest speakers and stuff like that to teach us about character development, in-ring psychology, the ins and outs of the business, how to approach a promoter for a booking, stuff like that. So I think in that aspect, Billy Simmons really set us up for success, because I had to start over completely when I moved from Kansas out here to Georgia. Fresh, like, brand new wrestler in town, had to talk to these promoters, had to promote myself, had to, trying to get bookings and stuff like that. Because in the Midwest, it was, word of mouth,
Right.
Oh, he trained with Billy Simmons. Oh, we know who Johnny Face is. Oh, we know who he is. But when I moved back to Georgia, or when I moved to Georgia, a couple years ago, I had to start over, from scratch, and using the tools that Billy taught us at the beginning, about, how to approach a promoter, how to cut a promo, all these things that, go into being a professional wrestler, I was grateful for.
Nice. Justin.
Who has been your toughest opponent so far?
My toughest opponent. So there's a guy in the Midwest by the name of Drake Gallows. He's the urban legend Drake Gallows. And me and him, we had a really tough match, 25-minute, hardcore match. It was pretty good. I would say he was probably one of my toughest opponents, along with the Midwest mafioso Joey Gambino. Well, we had a good feud for about a year straight, back and forth. And those two guys really pushed me to the limit. They helped bring out more intense Johnny Face, and, more grit, more rigor, Johnny Face. And, those two guys really brought the best out in me. So I would say it wouldn't be one, it'd probably be two.
Nice. So I ask this question all the time. So you hear these. I didn't realize the intensity of an indie wrestling show compared to the ones you watch on TV until I experienced an indie wrestling show right down the road from me in Panama City Beach. XIW, Extreme Impact Wrestling. Man,
Yep,
you guys.
I know that place.
Okay, you know that? Okay.
I know that place. I definitely know that place. I follow them on Facebook a lot, because I'm not far away from Panama City. I'm probably maybe 3 hours. I'm
Okay.
just in Southeast Georgia. So.
Okay. So yeah, man, maybe someday in the future, we'll see you down in the XIW arena, Panama City Beach. Adrian Whisper is the promoter, man. Reach out to him, man.
It's possible. We'll see.
So the question I had was, a lot of fans don't know what you guys put yourself through, don't know the training, don't know. All they see is these chair shots, these people bouncing off the floor, blah, 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 blah. And they call it fake. What is your response to those that call this, what you do, fake?
My response to that is, how about you let me give you a forearm? Let me give you a forearm really quick, and you can tell me if it's fake or not. I get it. Everyone says that. I have an 11-year-old nephew who hates wrestling. Still comes to see me, still comes to the shows and watches me wrestle, but it's fake, it's scripted, it's choreographed, whatever, he wants to say. And I'm just like, for me, it is a release. It is my therapy. All right. I don't care if it's fake or not. All right. The goal is to entertain the fans. I mean, we're in the entertainment business. All right. It's to entertain the fans. Yes, it's through professional wrestling, but for me, the fake aspect really, it doesn't really anger me, because for me, this is real life, because Johnny Face isn't a made up character. He's, me to the core. So for people to say it's fake, I would just, tell them, how about you get in the ring and, run the ropes 5 times. Take a bump. Let me hit you with a forearm. Let me suplex you. We don't, there is some fake aspects to it, but the bumps, the bruises, the hits, it's all real. It's just done in a safe manner, as safe as possible anyways.
Right, right. And by the look of you, you're probably more of the brawler type guy in the ring, right? Not the high flyer.
No, definitely not a high flyer. More of a brawler slash technician, suplex machine, whatever you want to call it. I can't. Like I said, I got into wrestling pretty late, and got out of the Army because of injuries and stuff like that. So I'm not saying I'm limited on what I can do in the ring. It's just, for me, I treat every wrestling match like it's a fight. So I would think to myself, is this what I would do in a fight, or not? To me, I'm all about being on somebody. It takes a long time for me to get up to the top rope. So am I going to do that? No, I'm just going to stay on you. To me, that's not the way I fight.
Okay.
I just rather just get on you, brawl, technical, something like that. I leave the high flying to the people that can do it, and
Yeah.
I just stick to my brawler slash technician mentality and roll with it.
Awesome, Justin.
What is the future like for Johnny Faith?
Future for Johnny Faith is really good. Right now, I'm a champion in a company. I hoping to get some more championships, but to be honest with you, the championships isn't what matters. To me, what matters is to go out and inspire. Inspire people to live their dreams, no matter how high those dreams may be. There's some way to get there. All right. It took me, a long time to get where I'm at, to reach my dream finally. I had to go through, deployments, Army career, all these roadblocks, all these obstacles, deaths, family, friends, all these obstacles. But my overall goal for Johnny Faith in the future and now is to inspire people, to honor my comrades, to inspire people to live their dreams.
Awesome.
No matter where I go, I could wrestle down the street in front of 5 people. I could be wrestling for the NWA in front of 5,000 people. It's the same mentality wherever I go. Whoever wants to give me an opportunity, whichever company, whichever promoter, whatever booker in the future, they will know that they're going to get a person that strives to be the best in terms of work ethic, in terms of promos, in-ring work, stuff like that. They know they're going to get a hard worker. So the future for Johnny Faith looks good right now, at least for the rest of 2023 anyways. I'm pretty full for the next few months at least.
Awesome. Well, glad we had the opportunity to have you on the show. So so the question is, do you feel the communication between referee, people in the back, and wrestlers are important to make a successful match?
Yes, I do. I think the referee is probably one of the most important people in the match. I mean, obviously the 2 wrestlers are as well, but the referee is definitely has a really important job, whether it's keeping time, whether it's making sure that we're safe after a big spot or something like that. And it's same with the guys in the back. Big thing is time. People now want to hound on match times and stuff like that. So I think the communication between the guys in the back and the referee, and obviously us wrestlers, all need to be, on the same level in terms of match times, because places I've been lately, they have really hounded on match times and making sure that you stick to them. So the communication, I think, definitely is key between the backstage people and the referee in terms of time. But other than that, that's really about all I got on that. I mean,
Okay.
as far as keeping the match going and stuff like that, yeah, the ref, helps it along and all that. But
Right.
I think communication definitely is key there.
So what is your fan interaction like with you during the matches, around the ring, and even like at the merch table? What is that like for Johnny Faith?
So I'm a very different person. All right. I'm very calm. I'm a very calm, cool, collected person. Very, very standoffish. I have PTSD from the Army, so I'm kind of, it's weird being a wrestler because the PTSD kind of gets, it lurks up a lot. But I got to remember that I'm a wrestler. People are there for me. I got to remember that I can't stand off in the corner and just cross my arms and just observe everything like I used to. So when those air raid sirens go off and I come through that curtain, it's 110%, Johnny Face yelling, USA chants, just very intense all the way throughout the match, And then once the match is over and I go to the back and I head to the merch table, it's back to the cool, calm, and collected, very quiet, thank you for coming, stuff like that. I turn it back down a little bit, unless if the fans want to see it, then I'll turn it right back up. It's not hard to flip the switch. But as far as during the match and all that, yeah, very intense, very vocal to the crowd, to my opponent. I run my mouth to everyone. Obviously I'm big baby face, so of course crowd interaction is what drives me. My character is like a never die character, so I need that crowd support, to build me up throughout the match.
Awesome, man. So do you still do anything with the Kansas Wrestling Alliance?
Yes, I do. Actually, there's my own, or not my owner, my trainer. He is opening up a new company out of Kansas called Heartland Championship Wrestling. He sold his original company to the co-owner that used to run XWE. So he is no longer associated with XWE, but he is now opening up Heartland Championship Wrestling, and their debut show is actually August 12th in Leavenworth, Kansas, okay. which I will be at. But as far as XWE goes, I live in Southeast Georgia. I am a full-time college student, and it is hard for me to make that trip 2 times in a month. So I had to step away from XWE wrestling for the time being to help my trainer launch Heartland Championship Wrestling, to be a part of that, experience and that roster. But not saying that XWE is, gone for good for me. It's definitely not. If the time is right and the opportunity is right, of course I'll be back there for, as much as I can. That's where I was built. That's where Johnny Face was born. That's where he was made. So, of course that'll always be a home to me. It's just right now, I just can't really do anything with it, with Heartland Championship Wrestling starting to run shows because, the travel twice a month is just not feasible anymore.
Right. And that's where you met Eugene, correct?
That is definitely where I met Eugene. Yes, sir. He came and did a couple shows with us. I was a special enforcer for one of his matches. Saved him from a beat down. He saved me from a beat down. It was pretty good. It was pretty good 3-month storyline thing that we did there with him.
Nice. Justin, do you have anything?
Yes, I would like to say thank you again for everything you do for professional wrestling. Thank you for your service. Keep working hard and keep doing what you're doing. Thank you again.
I appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity you guys bring me on here to tell my story and to showcase. And, it goes in the same with wrestling, however, whatever opportunities I'm given, whether it's a podcast or a wrestling show, I will still try to promote the crap out of it to make sure we have as many eyes on it as possible.
I appreciate you showcasing and broadcasting the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast on your Facebook pages. I appreciate that. So a little bit about XWE. That's where you called it in a couple of videos I watched, Libby. That's Liberty. Yep. That's your title. So
United Liberty title, the XWE United Liberty Championship.
There you go. So tell us about what the boot camp match was.
So I was in a feud with Joey Gambino, the Midwest Mafioso. We were in a great feud. The title had been relinquished because of an injury. So me and him wrestled for it. I won. Then we started a feud. Then my dad died. So I decided to take about 5 or 6 months off of wrestling. So we got it to where they wrote me off for about 5 months. I lost the championship. I did had a couple of lingering injuries as well, so we attributed that to my time off. So we said that Johnny Face needs bad, so he's gonna take some time off, whatever. And so my dad died. But in all actuality, what it was is my dad died, suddenly. I had wrestled at a show in North Carolina the night prior to him dying, and he he passed the next day. So I told XWE and Billy Simmons, I was like, you know, I'm about to take a break from wrestling. I just need to clear my head. I just got to take a couple months off. And he was like, okay, and we'll bring you back. We'll get it going again. So when I came back, no, the match I left at was Eugene versus Joey Gambino for the XWE United Liberty Championship. And that's when Eugene lost the title to Gambino. And that's when my injury happened, was during that match. Their little faction, the Empire, beat me down and, you know, put me on the shelf. So I came back, fought my way back to a #1 contendership. And at the biggest show of KWA, the biggest show KWA holds every year is Wrestle Brawl in December. Me and Gambino had a boot camp match. And what that is pretty much anything goes type, no DQ street fight, I guess, but labeled a boot camp because I brought a duffel bag full of Army stuff to the ring with me, like canteens, flashlights, you know, fishing poles, kinds of stuff. And, you know, I took Joey's ass through boot camp and wound up winning the championship back from him. And but yeah, the boot camp match is just it's a way to show people what boot camp was like. You know, the pain and the torture and all that. So, you know, boot camp matches are fun.
Nice. So that music goes off, you hear the gun salute, the gunshots and all this stuff. The music starts playing, you get pumped up, you get that adrenaline going. It had to have been great your first match of your career. Is that intensity the same now as it was a few years ago when you first heard those sirens?
So my first match ever, to be honest with you, I didn't find really Johnny Faith until JB was talking earlier who, you know, my toughest opponent was, Drake Gallows. So I didn't really find that fire, that intensity until I wrestled that man. You know, for the first, 4 or 5 matches, I kind of was trying to still figure out my way. I was trying to figure out how much I really wanted to be intense, you know, pre-match, during the match, post-match.
Right.
And, you know, there for the first couple matches, I would just come out and, you know, do a little bit of crowd hyping, a little bit. Now it's like 110%, like just, you know, as soon as the music hits and I go through that curtain, I'm fired up. So that intensity has definitely grown over the years. It is definitely, I look at matches, you know, some of my first matches, and I'm just like, you know, I don't know how I was not as intense back then as I am now, because everyone loved it. Everyone loves the energy, the intensity, the vocalization that I do. I just get a lot of praise for that everywhere I go. And a lot of people ask me how I can turn that switch on so easily, you know, because it, you know, it takes them, you know, a lot to build all that intensity up, to get that energetic, that crazy, that hype. And for me, it's natural. I can just flip it. You know, I don't know. It's just one of those things that just come natural to me. I can just, you know, flip to intense, you know, in no time.
Nice. What is the best advice you've ever gotten from a promoter or a wrestler?
Best advice. The best advice I ever got, I'd say, I mean, I've gotten a lot of good advice, but here lately, the best advice I ever got, or I've gotten lately, was from Ricky Morton. I did a Ricky Morton seminar a couple weeks ago in North Carolina, and he told me to always invest in yourself. Always invest in yourself. Never stop learning. Always learning. There's always something to learn in professional wrestling. In all aspects of the business, from the stuff in the back to matches to, you know, moves, psychology. Always keep learning. Never stop learning. There is always something to learn. It doesn't matter if you've been in 2 weeks or 20 years. You can always learn something. So right now, that's the best advice that I've gotten lately, is never stop learning.
That's good advice, man. That's good advice for anybody listening. It's good advice I mean, I take that advice and I run with that, because I need to hear that. Thank you.
And I think that's not even just professional wrestling. That's just the life thing always learn, or you can always learn something new. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
especially if you love something or if you have a passion for it. Why wouldn't you want to learn
Right.
everything that you can learn about it? Why
Yep.
wouldn't you want to?
That's true.
Exactly, because you learn something. You learn something every day new, but you got to motivate yourself every day to do something new every day. You know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah.
Exactly.
JB.
Okay. So I'm gonna go back to the NWA question. If you had a tag team partner, because I like the NWA, I love the NWA back in the days. So, um, Who would be your tag team partner?
All right. I already used Grandpa's one, so I'm not going to use him. All right. I'm not going to use him. I'm going to take it back to like the mid 1970s. My
Okay.
grandpa, one of my grandpa's good friends, the mighty Igor.
Okay.
The mighty Igor. I would love to see him as a tag team partner. Or to be honest with you, I would totally do a NWA Ric Flair. I mean, I do a Ric Flair as well as a tag team partner.
My favorite favorite NWA wrestler would have to be Magnum TA. I like Magnum TA a lot. He was one of my favorite wrestlers when he was wrestling with NWA back in the day. So I liked
Yeah,
him when I was growing up.
I was sad that his career got cut short,
Yeah.
but he really was a good. He was. I still actually get people to send me matches because I put on Facebook, what match should I watch this week, or trying to study film footage, stuff like that. Somebody sent me a Magnum TA match a couple weeks ago, and I watched it, and I need to get on there and watch some more of those Magnum TA
A
matches.
really good match to watch with him and Tully Blanchard. Them were some good. That was a good rivalry between him and Tully in the I Quit match. First ever I Quit match between Tully Blanchard and Magnum TA. So check that match out. That match is really good.
I will definitely check that one out for sure.
Here's some quick questions from the kids that I take care of. Okay, so bear with them.
Right.
We sit around. They love knowing what Mr. Scott does, and so I tell them some of them are too little to understand, but then they are all asking questions, so they all want to ask you questions. So,
okay.
First question: what's your favorite video game?
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. What's your favorite?
I don't play video games, but I would say Call of Duty.
All right. What's your favorite cheat meal as a athlete?
Cheat meal? Ribs.
Yeah, ribs. Okay. What would you be watching if you spent the day on the couch watching Netflix?
Trailer Park Boys.
Trailer Park. Holy shit, dude. That is epic as
Did
hell.
you just say Trailer Park Boys?
Yes, dude. My sons used to watch the heck out of that. That just brought memories, bro. No way.
Hey, to be honest with you, my girlfriend wonders why I watch that show, and I tell her, this is what I tell her. I was like, because it makes me feel better about my life choices.
There you go, because it makes you feel better about your life choices. That is, yeah. Yeah. You ever watch that guy, that kid or whatever? He's on top of a trampoline and he has these broken glass on a board and he jumps up. He goes,
you talk about Superhuman.
Yes, dude.
Yep. I know who that guy is too. Yeah.
Back to the questions.
Back to the questions, man. What movie have you seen the most in your whole life?
What movie have I seen the most in my whole life? I would probably Hanks.
Who?
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. Okay. Yeah. Which actor should play you in a movie about your life? Who would you want to play you in a movie about your life?
Jeez. I'd have to go with Chris Evans, I guess, because he was Captain America. So, I mean, he kind of has an understanding of it.
Yeah. What's your favorite music or band?
Favorite music is all over the place. Favorite band would probably have to be either Metallica or Pantera.
Okay. Favorite cartoon?
Favorite cartoon? Wow. You guys are really getting it here. Favorite cartoon? I haven't watched cartoons in so long, but I would say my favorite cartoon as a kid would probably be Rocco's Modern Life.
Okay. Favorite sports team?
Carolina Panthers.
Thank God you didn't say Cowboys.
Oh,
No,
here we
sir.
go. Here we go. Scott, wait till I get off this. Yeah, okay.
Because I don't know why I'm asking this question, but does pineapple belong on pizza?
If you talk to my trainer, he would probably say hell no. But to me, I can eat anything on pizza. So to me, yes.
Awesome, man. So that was the quick questions. I'm going down to my notes here. What are your adventures in the booking scene going forward? I see there's. Can we talk about the NWA CYN tryout?
The tryout I did in January for NWA CYN.
Yes.
So that was really good. It was up at the School of Morton in Tennessee at Ricky Morton's school. There was about 80 of us there. We each got a 5-minute match in front of Ricky and in front of EC3, and we got critiques and feedback right off the bat, pretty much from those two gentlemen. And I would say that it was probably some of the best advice that I have gotten. Any seminar that I go to, I always take everything I can away from it. And that was definitely no exception, because I listened to everything that he told everybody after their match. I listened to everything. I watched the match just like he did, and then I listened to the critiques, and then I realized I learned a lot more from that than from just the critiques from my match.
Awesome. So I know you talk about wanting to go to NWA and to Georgia, the Georgia Championship Wrestling, where your grandpa was. But is there any hopes or is WWE, AEW, ROH, Impact, or NJ or New Japan Wrestling, are they on your radar?
There is nothing that's not on my radar. Whatever opportunity I am presented with, I will take. It does not matter where it is at. It's just my goals. I have long-term goals, short-term goals. Those are the long-term goals. New Japan, AEW, WWE. Short-term goals that I could try to, get done within the next few years would be the NWA, the GCW, stuff like that. But, nothing is not off of my radar. I will go anywhere that I am wanted or anywhere that I am given an opportunity.
So back in the day when I can remember, there was WCW and there was WWF or WWE. And that was basically it that was on TV or whatever. You heard of NWA, yeah. We have a whole lineup. WWE, ROH, NXT, AEW, Impact. You think all these different brands in the wrestling profession is causing chaos in the wrestling world, or you think it's helping the younger guys or the Impact or the indie guys coming up?
I think it is helping. I really do. I think it is helping everyone in wrestling because it's driving you to be better. All right. It's, you got all these mainstream spots now. You got MLW, ROH, you got all these places that you can showcase your talents at. And now everybody is itching for that as well. So it's making everyone be the best wrestler that they could possibly be, because that's who gets opportunities. That's who gets, the spotlights, being the best that you can be, being charismatic, being marketable, and just carrying yourself with professionalism. So I don't think that any of those are really hurting anything. If anything, they're getting eyes on new wrestlers that you would probably not even have heard of. AEW Dark was really big with that. I had a lot of friends that wrestled on AEW Dark that no one would really know about until, oh, wow, he's on AEW Dark. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm going to name drop, I guess. I've got people that we've had on our shows before, and I just want to see if you've rubbed elbows with these guys, if we had interactions. So you mentioned MLW. So we've had on here Alex Kane. Have you met the guy?
I have not met him.
How about Shane Taylor of ROH?
I have not met him either.
Okay. Two great guys. And we had we had Mr. Kennedy on a few months ago. That guy's he's a trip and a half. So
nice.
But yeah. So Justin, do you have anything to ask before we close out the show?
No, I just want to say, like I said, keep doing what you're doing. I hope to see you, someday on TV. But man, it was an honor of, asking you questions. Thank you for coming on the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. Thank you so much for your service, and thank you for everything you do. Keep up the hard work.
I really appreciate it, JB, and I thank you for the opportunity and appreciate the words of encouragement.
One more question. I keep on finding questions here. Do you have any funny road stories
I have funny road stories.
that you can share?
So I don't really have any funny road stories that I can share. I really don't travel with other wrestlers because, usually it's just me. Now, when I lived in Kansas, that was a different story because then, we would jump in the car as a carload and we'd drive the shows and stuff like that. But now that I'm out here on the East Coast, I'm kind of just me and my family. We travel, to shows and they watch the show and, then we go home. Broken down on the road a few times, flat tires, stuff like that. Had to, wake up a sleeping driver that would fall asleep, give him a couple whacks on the back of the head, stuff like that. But I mean, not really any kind of crazy over the top stories, that I could share like that.
Were you or are you still the guy that shows up to the arena 3 or 4 hours early to help set up the ring? And do you believe that part of it is important as well as wrestling?
Yes, I do. Now there is only one company that I don't do that for, and that's the company. That's when I go out to the Midwest. When I go out to Kansas and wrestle for either XW or Heartland Championship Wrestling coming up, I'm not there for setup or tear down because I travel so far, and they already have pretty much it either A, set up when I get there, or B, it's pretty close to being set up. And plus I've been in the car 15, 16 hours. Okay. And then I pretty much have to turn around and go home. But anything else, I always try to help set up and tear down, or at least try to do as much as I can before I have to leave.
We have a latecomer to the chat. I'm going to pop this up for you because he put us up there for Johnny Face. So here we go. Get busy, Johnny, but I'm here now. So
that's he's the owner of See No Evil Wrestling. The guy I hold the championship. That's Ben Wolf. He's definitely given me some great opportunities.
Awesome. So we got this title. Looks good on you, bud.
I appreciate that, Ben. I really do, and I thank you for the opportunity that you've given me.
So do you have any closing words for your fans and promoters?
So I just wanted to say that, I love professional wrestling. It is something that, I bleed. It runs through my blood. Grandpa was a wrestler. I just want to be the best wrestler that I can be, inside the ring, outside the ring. I have a tremendous amount of work ethic. I promote everything I'm on. I even promote shows I'm not even on. I promote other wrestlers. I have 3 main goals in professional wrestling. 1, to help myself grow. 2, to help companies that book me grow. And 3, to inspire people and to honor.
Awesome. Okay, so one last thing, man. Kind of stealing this, but I'm going to ask you. You said you turn on the switch, the hype switch. It's like, boom. So I'm going to ask you in character to tell our viewers, this is Johnny Faith, and thank you for tuning in to Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast. The floor is yours when you're ready.
This is the American hero, Johnny Faith, and you are tuning in to the Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast.
There your man is. He's Johnny Faith. Huge Pop Wrestling Podcast, people. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming to the show. And the American hero, Johnny Faith, hold tight in the lobby room. I'm going to play a song to end the show. We'll talk to you a little bit, okay?
All right. I thank you guys both for this, and I salute both of you.
Thank you.
My dogs, make some noise up in this house. Who is in the house?